afternoon to everybody. I am not shouting. This is my call. And the other reason is to make sure that all of you are awake after a sumptuous lunch. Actually, I am confused. We are about to discuss on this panel imperatives and what does it take to ensure that we export talent. However, the session just before lunch, the very hilarious speech by Mr. Rajan actually confused me whether we should export talent or whether we should keep talent in India. And in the audience there are many stalwarts. I think you have the answers, but this panel is trying to give you answers. I just want to moderate. Skills development in India has become a fashion from the time the Prime Minister got elected. I think every household has started talking about skills development, but if you do a survey, you will realize that people away, everybody started talking about intolerance, but nobody knew what is intolerance. Similarly, if you ask about skills development, I don't think so many people will be able to tell us what exactly is skill development, what is happening in the nation. Today we had statistics which were eye-openers for us. I was on this weekend driving to Nasik, and I saw what we are going to discuss in terms of exporting talent. What does it take? What do you need to have to be eligible to become a global player? But I realized this at the very, very grassroots level. While we were driving down early morning, I told my driver we'll have speed on the highway. As we approached Thane, the vehicle slowed down and I said, what happened? So he said, sir, every day these laborers gather, the daily wage laborers, from Napa in Thane. From there the Nasik route takes on. And I said, what is this crowd? What are these laborers doing? And I could see there were 2-3 tempos in which there are 2-3 agents who were saying, okay, you come. And I told the driver to slow down. I said, let's have tea over here. I am interested to look at this. The driver was saying, okay, so you don't seem to be well, you don't come. You come and no friends with you. Then you are saying, okay, lady, you have a child, so you don't come. And I was actually watching human resource selection happening over there at that Napa in a very crude manner. And I realized this is another type of selection where we are talking about selecting people for the global challenge. Over there, this guy was selecting for absolutely the local, the day-to-day. We moved on and reached Nasik. I was at a college, the Gokhale Education Society, for some other work. And there I saw one classroom. There's this company, I don't want to name. There are 2 managers talking to students about what they expect from these engineers. They were in the final year of engineering, if they had to be selected in this company. So I saw another flavor of selection happening. What is it that takes for you people to join my company? I said, fantastic. Everything that I am seeing today is linked to what we are going to discuss next week at IMC. In the afternoon, I happened to go and meet another client in Nasik, Sahyadri Farms. It's a farmer collaborative effort, and they get all the crops into their factory, process it, store it, and export. 100% export of fresh fruits and vegetables. And I was checking with that guy, how do you do it? So he said, we don't just ask people to come to us with their produce. We actually help these farmers during the year. What you need to do cultivate export-oriented crop. There again, I saw something related to export. Not talent, but yes, cultivating talent. That can cultivate export-oriented crop. So he said, sir, we do rigorous training. And that's one thing that we have signed up with the farmers, that you will have to listen to exactly what we say, the way you do farming. We'll create a better yield and better crop so that it becomes an export-oriented thing. And then while we were learning, my colleague's mobile, somehow it crashed. And he said, no. And you know how claustrophobic we have become with the mobiles nowadays. Even if you don't get oxygen, you'll live. But if you don't get a mobile for a minute, you're certain to die. And he said, no, sir, I have to get this repaired or group. So we stopped at the shop. Now this fellow is an engineer. He worked in the US with Microsoft, came back to India, he's with Infosys now. Software engineer, couldn't do anything with that mobile. We stopped at a local shop, a Tapri, mobile repair. And there were two young guys, not even 20, and they figured it out, what is happening with the mobile. In 10 minutes, this guy's mobile was up and running. And while he was testing, I could see the other shops also. All of them very young, extremely illiterate boys. But they were hands-on with this technology of mobile. I saw another guy buying the mobile. He could not activate it. The other guy went on to those steps, got it activated. And I'll tell you, this is where skills development is actually happening. Then I did a survey with some of my friends who are into international recruiting. And I asked them, what is it that you do in terms of your selection? What are the things that you look at candidates when they come to you for foreign placements? And they said, sir, Prashant, the number one thing is English language, because that's the international language, which a lot of Indians lack. The other thing, we check whether the person is homesick. There are tests, psychometric tests that prove. Is because if you are homesick, you are going to return. Number three, are you diehard patriotic? So, if that is the case, you are not going to be comfortable working anywhere outside. The other factor they said is are you adaptable to working in an environment which has diverse cultures? You can't say that, I can't eat this, I can't listen to this, I can't accept this. Are you adaptable? And I spoke to some of the institutes, because the institute that I had gone to in Nasik, they said that, Prashant, why don't you train our students so that they get placed? And a number of students, majority of them, didn't want to go out of Nasik. Jobs are there, but I will not move from my location. I was told majority of institutes in Maharashtra, engineering and management institutes in the rural areas, 90% of them do not opt for jobs. They are opting for MPSC. Rural people do not want to come and work in places, urban places. They are wanting to work with the government. Most of them are going for MPSC. Now this skills development challenge, and we are trying to place people in sophisticated markets outside India. Is it a challenge? What do we do about it? What does it take for you to become? But the one thing that I realize everywhere that people are doing is training. And while I sign off to make sure that the panel takes off, one of the CEO in one of the board meetings was questioned because he was very aggressive on increasing the budget for training. And the CEO was asked, the board, what if we train and they leave? So the CEO said, what if we don't train and they still stick around? So I said, this is the answer. So with this pre-note to you all, I am not the speaker, so I'll shut up now. And I would like to invite the lady first to come and express her insights on this topic. We will have 10 minutes for every speaker on the panel. Thereafter, we will moderate, and then for 10 to 15 minutes, we'll have the question and answer. This is the structure that we will follow. So, Radhika, please.
Thank you, Prashant. And a very good afternoon to the entire audience and my co-panelists on the dais. So it's a pleasure to be here this afternoon and maybe share a little bit of what we have been doing at the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce for the last couple of many years. So let me start by saying that I believe that skilling has now become the fashionable buzzword. But for us at the Chamber, the story started way back in 1991. We have a training center just across the road, which is called the Indo-German Training Center, which is the management training division of the Chamber. And this was incepted in 1991, basically by three founding companies, Siemens, Bayer and Bosch, that felt the need to train their own people and to train the people in their own way, which is the special German dual education system. Of course, this German dual system has become also another buzzword in the skilling circuit, if I have to say so. It's something where you integrate theory and practical training, where you basically put students with the companies and then they are trained by the companies. This is something that for years now at the training center has become a success story. A lot of times that I'm at skilling summits, a lot of people are not so impressed by the numbers that we do. So they always feel that the German chamber does not cater to so many numbers of people. And they're also not so impressed because they think that business education is not actually skilling and it's not actually vocational training. But my take on it is that if we are also touching upon students from tier 2 and rural cities, I mean, honestly, when I look at my database of students, the applicants that apply to us at the training center, and each year I must assure you I have to look up my geography map to find out from which district in Maharashtra they are coming from. I actually have to open up the map to see that, okay, where is Banpuri now? And where is, so these are some small states, cities, districts, that very young, ambitious students, they manage to get a bachelor's degree somehow. They may claim to be fluent in English, but still I would say that they have some challenges in English. But they are very clear, they are very structured in their thoughts. In fact, this year we saw a very young girl just freshly out of college and she could barely speak on a GD, on a group discussion that we did. And we said no, we want to let her go. And the surprising part is that Siemens corporate communication team picked her as an intern. Can you imagine this? That when there is someone who you feel cannot even utter a word, utter a sentence, and then this girl ends up in the corporate communication team of a multinational company. German companies are not looking at high-flying talent. They are looking at sincere people, sustainable people who will stay, who will deliver, and who will make a difference to the organization. And I think that's why the whole program is still so beautiful. It's, I think, the only program, if I have to still be bold enough to say this, where the companies adopt a trainee prior to admission. So everybody applies to the training center, but you have to be admitted and selected by a student, by a company. So we have like a job fair, and for us, the placement process is different. What is more important is the admission process that we do every year in June. This is when almost 45 companies come down on a particular 3-day process. They interview applicants. These are still fresh. And even companies find it difficult because, of course, there are human resource talent that changes in companies and not everyone is so aware of the process. But they find it very unique that you still are interviewing a student who's not yet a part of an institution, and the student still has the right to decline an offer and say that I don't want to be a part of this. Yeah, so this is still very unique, and this is still we do this matchmaking exercise. Jokingly, I always say we get you engaged in June of a particular year, 18 months down the line when the course is over, marriage is dated, and we hope I'm the boys' side and the girls' side. I represent both sides, and I hope that the match works. Yeah, and that's how we've been running this training center. I think it's a beautiful journey. Skilling is something that is very close to our heart in the overall German fraternity. We take it extremely seriously because we feel it genuinely makes a difference. Another small story, if I have to narrate, I had this young girl who came from Ratnagiri, yeah, and she was a chemical engineer. She was recommended to me by her employer, who was already, she was working as a secretary with an office in Fountain. And the reason I still remember is because the employer picked up the phone and said, Radhika, will you please consider this young lady because she seems very bright and motivated, but I don't know in which other educational institution she will be given a chance. So we saw the girl, and because we have a lot of chemical companies, Bayer, BASF, Evonik, Lancex, Merck, Clariant, all of them who are looking at chemical engineers, and they're very hard to find. We said, okay, we will give her a chance. And she was a bright girl. She stood out beautifully in 18 months. She was adopted by Evonik as her mentor, as her training company, and then she did the program. Today, post the program, and she was from a Muslim background. So the first impression, post the program, she worked for a year with Evonik, and then she disappeared. And then she disappeared from the circuit. We didn't know where she was. She was not tracked by the company. We assumed that she has been called back to Ratnagiri to her village and has been married off. Another year down the line, I realized that she's sitting in Germany, married a German boy, and is working with Evonik in Germany. Yeah? So that's how stories transform, and that's why I think it's still very appropriate that we indulge in this process. It could be business administration, it could be any other field of work. The idea is to keep the industry connected to the program and find the right mentors in the industry, find the right buy-in from the industry so that they support young students, they guide them well, and they groom them well. And what is required, I think, from us as academicians is the right connect and to keep that flexibility. I think somebody at the lunchtime was saying that it needs the flexibility. I agree wholeheartedly. You need to be really keen to watch the process, and so what if the numbers remain small, as long as you continue to make a difference and make the right difference. I think it's very important. So I'll end it with that. I think I'm open to questions, and later let's leave more time for the panel discussion. So I've given you a brief insight into what the chamber does and will continue doing in the area of skilling, and we're very happy to be a part of it and indulge in it for many, many more years to come, I think. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Radhika. Chandrasekhar, you would like to take
on. Friends, I'm truly delighted to be here. I couldn't refuse my friend Vijay's invitation, and that's how I'm here. I'm going to share with you over the next around 12 minutes my thoughts on skill development in the implementation case I have. I'll show you 2 or 3 slides. And as a moderator mentioned, he was trying to check your alertness. Right? I'm going to switch off the lights and show you 3 slides. You can take a quick nap. Okay? But one caution, please don't snore. You will disturb your neighbors. Okay, so we will discuss growth sectors and opportunities with respect to skill development. In my view, as far as India is concerned, our country is concerned, and obviously we are trying to do skill development in our country, the benefit of which may flow to some other country, but that's different. but we need, because we are living in a globalized world, and India is a part of this globalized world, and our markets are integrating with the global markets. For someone to acquire skills, to be employed abroad, should also have the opportunity to be employed locally. Unless he is eligible to be employed locally, the probability or chance of his getting an employment outside is much less. And therefore, skill development should primarily benefit India, and there will be occasions for people, not everyone obviously, there will be occasions for a large number of people to migrate and use their talent or skills abroad and earn more money. But in my view, there are 7 sectors in India which are going to grow over the next 20 or 25 years, 30 years, and these are the 7 sectors. Food, textiles and clothing, housing and infrastructure, energy, education, healthcare and leisure. To take food for example. Food is of course one industry which will seldom face any exception. All of us have to eat at least twice a day. And with growing population, with rising incomes, with low per capita availability of food, our demand for food is going to go up. But what we need to now identify for the future requirements of food for India, what kinds of skills are required. Food is not just producing, it is not just agriculture that farmers produce some crops and the food industry is eating. And therefore skills are required at every stage of the supply chain and every stage of the value chain. We need skill development in agriculture production, in agriculture processing, in storage, warehousing, logistics, food processing industry, in distribution, in food safety and standards, etc. etc. Therefore, the food chain itself is a fairly long chain, and there are very strong skill needs in the entire food chain, and there are huge amount of skill development opportunities. And this is only an example. Similarly, you go to textiles and clothing, house and infrastructure. In each one of these sectors, I expect that demand in India will rise substantially over the next 20 to 25 years, or even up to 30 years. Given the expanding size of the population, increase in incomes, low current per capita availability, and of course a huge aspiration. Therefore, there is, in my opinion, extraordinary need and an opportunity to develop skills in each one of these 7 sectors. Take leisure for example. Indians over the next 15, 20, 30 years will be traveling more, will eat outside more, will spend more money on leisure, and will need to run the hospitality industry very, very special kinds of skills. But as I said, in each one of this, in each one of the growth sector, and this is only indicated, you can actually expand the list, but these, I believe, are 7 what I would call big ticket growth sectors for India, where we need to develop, we need to develop skills, make people employable. We may probably reach a situation in the next 10 years, if you don't get cracking on the skill development program, we will reach a situation where we will have a very large number of unemployed people in India, but they will be unemployable, and because you can't do anything with them, and that can potentially cause a huge amount of social unrest, etc. Now, I would actually divide the skill development into two sections. One is on entrepreneurial opportunities, second is on employment opportunities. In my view, again, entrepreneurial opportunities are given by these sectors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sectors. Technology is going to drive our life in future, without any doubt. I'm not talking about ICT, biotech, space tech, and a whole lot of technologies that Vijay spoke about in his keynote address. Technology is going to drive our life, and if we have to become tech savvy, and those whose skills include application of technology will have an extraordinary future. whether in India or outside, they'll have a great future about which there is no doubt about. Energy, both conventional energy and non-conventional energy are going to drive India's economy and the global economy, of course. Because it is energy that fuels economic growth. And particularly in India, we are seriously short of energy and our import dependence is very high. So the next sector where entrepreneurial opportunities are very high, where skill development needs are very acute, is the energy sector, both conventional and non-conventional energy. When we talk of non-conventional energy, I'm sure all of you know about biofuels, wind energy, solar energy, etc. And all of us also know there's a huge amount of trust by the government of India in these sectors. Of course, financial services, as the market starts to expand, whether it is banking or insurance or the derivatives market, the stock market, the commodities market, the financial service industry, the mutual fund industry, all that is going to expand. And that also, I believe there is a shortage of adequate skills and appropriate skills. And therefore, this is going to be another growth area for entrepreneurial opportunity. Then, of course, retail. When I say retail, I talk about organized retail. We are just scratching the surface as far as organized retail is concerned. And with the recent easing of FDI norms, I'm sure there's going to be huge inflow of FDI into retail, and that calls for very special skills to run retail outlets, etc. Retail management could become an area of skill development. Then rural sector, yes, of course, obviously more than 50% of India's population is in the rural areas, although we have a huge amount of migration to the cities. Yet, into the foreseeable future, the rural areas will continue to remain the so-called rural areas, and therefore the rural sector will continue to demand skills that the rural sector would need, and this is, in my opinion, going to be increasingly the focus of attention of the policymakers in the government of India. The proof of which is not in the last budget, and this is going to be, in my opinion, a future growth area. Last but not the least is the economy. And with sustainability increasingly becoming the buzzword, environment is going to place huge amount of demand on very special skills, which will ensure that every business, every investment, every economic activity becomes truly sustainable. And that certainly calls for a huge amount of training and education. Let me give you one more, this is probably the last one. These are the critical sectors in our opinion as far as our country is concerned. And this is not something which I have created. I don't know how many of you have actually looked at the 12th five-year plan document. These are from the 12th five-year plan document. You have the strategically critical sector for India, strategically important sector, defense, aerospace, capital goods, electronics, maritime. Each one of these sectors calls for huge amount of vocational training, education, and skill development. And on all these sectors are going to grow. Look at basic inputs like steel, cement, and fertilizers. There is a shortage of skills in each one of these industries. And the skills that these industries demand are not exceptionally, what I would say, exceptionally highly skilled. I think even an average person with basic education will be able to learn skills that are applicable to these industries, say like basic inputs, value addition. Automobiles, for example, they have a tremendous amount of value addition. And automobile industry over the next 25-30 years is going to expand. Huge skill development and employment opportunity, in my opinion, in automobile, pharmaceutical, petrochemical. And if we look at only job generation, without any extraordinary levels of skills, at least without much specialization or specialized skills if you're looking at jobs. Then of course the textiles, food processing, leather goods, and general goods. These demand actually, these are labor intensive industries, and therefore these are industries which are likely to create more jobs without an exceptional level of imparting higher skills to people. One of the issues that I came across very recently is on skill gap. In fact, I was looking at the economic survey that was released a couple of days before the budget, and the economic survey very clearly recognizes that there is skill. It recognizes the need for skill development without any doubt, but it also recognizes the fact that you don't have enough trainers in this country. For the challenge of skilling millions of people, you also need enough number of trainers who have the requisite skills to train the trainees, and we don't have enough. And therefore, one of the estimates, it says that by 2017, the skill gap within the vocational training sector will exceed at least 2 lakh persons. It will be short by 2 lakh persons to impart training. That is, we have 2 lakh trainers less. And by 2022, they could even double. And therefore, it is becoming now increasingly clear that yes, we need skill development. There are huge opportunities in the growth sectors for skill development and job absorption. But who's going to train? Who's going to impart the skill and vocational training? We need trainers. The trainers themselves need to be skilled in training people. And that's again going to be a huge challenge. I think I'm only hoping that this House will find some solution to examine and come up with some solution for how to train the trainers, who will in turn train a very large number of trainers. Thank you very much. Good luck and God bless you.
Thank you, sir.